In yoga classes, we go over a lot of strength building and flexibility building poses. But I find some of people's least favorite sometimes is balance. I like to take really strong people and give them balance poses, and really inflexible people and give them balancing poses. There's sort of a hit or miss in what poses people seem to like. I think it's good to practice balance poses because it really makes us embodied and aware, because we have to remain focused to remain balanced on one leg. We're going to go over tree pose in some detail with some variations in case you have problems with balance. I want to make this safe, simple, and effective for you to use these poses and understand more of the alignment. And we're going to start primarily with tree pose. Whenever I decide to start a balance pose, I have a tendency to want to shimmy through my hips just to get some feeling in my legs. We're going to stand on our right foot first, and I'm going to walk you through the balance here. Many people, when they try tree pose for the first time, they want to go into the full expression of the pose, which is pulling the leg all the way up towards the groin. I recommend specifically if you're frail, if you're not as strong as you would like to be, if you're worried about changing your balance that much, we're going to do the variation of the pose that has your foot down at the ankle. What this means is I can press my foot down into the side of my leg. I'm still doing a balance pose, which I just fell out of, but I'm below the knee. I'm pressing into the lower leg, and one of the core components of this, in addition to the balance now, is pressing the foot into the leg. When she scissors the legs together, that becomes her focal point for the balance. There's engagement in the feet, and from there, she can begin to roll the left knee back and open. Many of you will start with the leg almost forward like this. I want you slowly to open the hips and continue to have the pelvis facing forward. You don't want to be over the knee. In other words, I don't want my foot over my knee, sort of destabilizing from the side. But if you want a safe version, it's good to start just at the ankle or just above where you're working on the balance. Looks pretty good, Karina. Let's go ahead and try the opposite. Feet hips width distance apart. I'm going to rock back and forth again just to see if I can find balance on my left foot now. I'm going to lift and engage my kneecap. It means that my quadriceps are engaged. That's going to help me with my stability. We'll add that piece. Now the right foot is going to press right into my calf. I can feel that from the heel. I'm rolling that right knee back, trying to keep my hips forward. If I want my hands at my chest, I can do that. If you disengage at all, feel free to play with the pose. Balance poses gives us a chance to not take ourselves too seriously. It's not overly focused. We get a chance to giggle when we fall out. It's something we'll always work on. And for Karina, what happens if your arms are wide? The full expression of tree pose now with leaves. And back to center. If you can manage that portion of tree pose, it's completely safe for you to go ahead and move on to the next piece. We're going to step back into the right foot again. As I find balance in my right leg, I'm going to lift my leg up above the knee, and I want you to again, the bottom of the foot presses into the thigh. The thigh presses into the bottom of the foot as much as the foot presses into the bottom of the thigh. That's something that I think you can't see in magazines, in photos. You can't see the muscle engagement that goes along with the pose. I'm going to try again on this right side. If you find that the foot was a little uncomfortable where it pressed, you can slightly change its position. I'm trying to be broad, grab there, lift and lengthen the spine. I'm going to go for my full expression there, if I'm not too wobbly through my foot. And we get to work at it. Now, slowly down, back and forth. I'm going to try one more to the left side. So, left thigh is contracted. My kneecap is lifted into place. I need a solid, sturdy trunk of my tree to go ahead and lift the leg into position so that the foot can press into the thigh. If you want to hold here, you can. I think this is a bit of a cheat, but it gives you something to play with as far as position is concerned. I did so well until I fell out. Now, is there a fundamental difference in the balance between the foot down low or the foot up high? No. What it does do is it changes hip position. See, they always laugh. You don't want to press the foot on the knee. And if you lose your balance, you just go back in. I find some of the highest variability of all yoga poses in balance poses themselves. Some days, totally solid. Some days, couldn't hold a balance pose. My life depended on it. There we go. And slowly leg down. Now we're going to add a little bit of a strength component. We're going to play with this and see how Karina and I are going to handle this pose. But I'm going to stand off the mat. She's going to face this way. I'm going to face that. I'm going to stand on my right foot and see if I can get a grip underneath my left. And I'm balancing on that leg. Now, for many of you, this is the full expression of the pose because you're just balancing there. Can you extend your leg out, Karina?
Around 2 seconds.
Now, if you fall out, you can still work on the balance, but there's a combination of balance in addition to core strength and compression. You have to be able to have open hamstrings, open core. The beginning of all of it, if all you can do is this, and I'll face you, Karina, you won't have to do the full expression. If all you can do is stand on one leg and lift like this, this is where you start. You squeeze the belly in. You slowly go, okay, I'm going to hang out here. Because that's the beginning of the compression. It's the beginning of the strength in addition to working on that standing leg, which is the foundation of the pose. You don't have to go to its fullest expression where your leg is lengthened out. It will come in time and in practice. Doing the same poses, sometimes in vinyasa sequences like Ashtanga, part of the benefit of having a repetitious series of poses is you can chart your progression from class to class, and it's easier to mark measured improvement. You can tell that you went more deeply into the pose, or you were a little bit stronger, it wasn't quite as much strain. It gives you a chance to compare class to class so you can mark your improvement. One more?
Yeah, I think I should do the other side.
Aha. Now if I'm here, let's see. Aha. Aha. Not bad to a 41-year-old. Aha.
Is it important that I keep that leg straight?
So you could bend a little bit at the knee. This is, I think, a little bit less stable. The only problem with straightening your leg would be if you hyperextend at your knees. If you hyperextend at your knees, it's almost going to feel like you're completely bending your knee to be able to get it straight. The reason I don't want you to hyperextend your knee is I don't want you to compromise ligaments in your knee.
Is that like when the knee goes backwards?
Yeah. Hyperextension, bad. We've seen those videos on Facebook with weightlifters, bad. Bad, bad, bad. There she goes. Standing leg is most important.
I think I got 2 seconds.
It's a combination of strength and flexibility. I like taking people who lift weights. They're plenty strong. Give them a balance pose and they feel like a child again. There's a high variability with balance poses. It's something that you work at over time. Flexibility is nice. We want range of motion so we don't feel stiff. Strength is good because we want to be able to lift ourselves up and do what we need to do. Balance is the one that sometimes gets left out, but balance is increasingly important as we age because we don't want to be able to, fall, right? We want to be safe. I think that also it gives us a chance to really focus because it's not strength, it's not flexibility, it's going to a slightly different area of yoga people don't really enjoy quite as much. I tend to think of balance poses being quite fun. It's very challenging for me to sit and think about just standing on one leg. It's hard for me to think about my grocery list. It's hard for me to think about my emails, because I'm just trying to balance. It's a very good way to get people focused on their bodies. It's hard, isn't it? Where do you feel the pressure?
Honestly, the limited flexibility
Hamstrings?
of this leg, I think, is actually the most
Yeah.
challenging.
And it'll be different from leg to leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe tell them about the drishti point or focusing on, because that makes all the difference to me.
If you'd like an additional focus to be able to maintain balance, many yoga teachers will talk about drishti. Karina was bringing this up to me. In this moment, I'm looking at the camera as drishti, that mental focus, to be able to maintain my balance without looking around rapidly. You can always focus off at a point in the distance, say on a wall, to be able to use that to be able to align yourself in your vision, to be able to see if you can hold the pose from there.
I'm getting better.
Anytime students have marked improvement, they're very happy. Some people will find that standing on the left leg in this case, lifting the right knee, that compression and grab can be challenging. Now we're going to do a lesser version of it. I'm just going to hold the leg at 90 degrees. I want to see if I can roll this leg open. And with balance, in her case, can I extend it out? Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm going to try it from the opposite side, just behind here. Hamstrings or balance?
Hamstring.
Yeah, it's tight. So I'm going to switch legs now. I'm going to stand on my left leg. I'm out to the front at first. I'm going to allow the guns to face forward. The hand is out. I'm going to grab around my big toe and see if I can extend. Out and over. And then the other arm can come out. Lots of playfulness.
You're really good at that.
Practice. Just practice. Standing leg is always the primary focus. Different options you can play with. Yay! Now, for you at home, if you want an additional piece, if I'm standing on both legs, back to just a balance pose, we talked about standing, let's say, on the right foot. I bend here. Let's say for whatever reason, when I lean in, it's too much compression. It hurts my low back. It's hurting my hip. Take the compression out, stand on the right leg, and now can you balance on the right leg? And then after you balance on the right leg, can you slowly extend it out? And maybe you only get to here. But if you get to there, you are compressing and engaging through here just to a much smaller degree, which means you're strengthening your core, you're strengthening your quadriceps, you're working on your focus so you can balance on one leg. The more you practice these, the easier it will become to go into a full expression of the pose. The reason I did the more challenging one first, where you grab the foot and lean out, is how would you feel if we'd done the other two first? And then we tried to do it. You're like, too hard. It's too much work.
Yeah.
Go slow with your balance poses. Lots of different variants. The primary foundation is always standing on one leg. And if you can't hold it for some reason or having challenges, just make sure that your alignment is good, that you're sinking into the one leg, and you can start at the softest, smallest expression of a balance pose. If that is what feels best to you at the time, you'll build in your practice over time as you continue to practice, observe, and breathe patiently. Balance poses are wonderful because you can practice them almost anywhere. If you're in line at the DMV, the full tree pose might be a little bit much, but you get a chance to stand on one leg in any position while you're a check. Who writes a check anymore? Put your card into the slot at the check. What's that? You get a chance to practice these just in your daily life. Always start small, and then you can slowly add levels as you get more strength and flexibility. Thank you so much for following along. It's been a pleasure working with you. Namaste.